Okay, good evening, everyone. I would like us to please wait for some minutes, let's say 5 minutes or even less, to allow others to join because this is not something I would like anybody to miss. And I promise you guys a very, very impactful boot camp with us here. So please get your pen, get your book, and yes, because you're going to have something to take home today. So please, let's be there. Let's be there. Okay, I think we are good to go. I think we are good to go. It's just 5 minutes past five, and yes, we'll still be expecting more people to join us, but I will not like everybody. I will not like anybody to actually miss a single minute of this session, as we have um, a very, very, very important person who is an expert in this field, who is going to take us through this session today. And yes, I believe he has a lot for us, and I would not like anybody to miss the session today. So as we're doing that, let me see. 506 1706. Please let's give some more minutes. I can see we now 17 on the call. Yes. Okay, good day, everyone. It's such a pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to today's webinar. On behalf of the Famsa Technical Working Group on Digital Health and Innovation, I want to sincerely thank you guys for making time to be here today. Whether you are joining from your university campus, a teaching hospital, your office, or the comfort of your home, we are truly excited to have you with us this evening. And before we officially begin, let us make let us make this session feel less like an online meeting and more like a community. So I did like everyone. Okay, this call is now being recorded. Okay, so yes, I did like everyone to head over to the chat section and tell us two things about yourself. You're going to be telling us your name and the country or city you are joining us from. Let's see how many countries we have represented here today. So please, I will be starting. Head to your chat box, type something, right? Type your name, your country, or the city you are joining from. I'm going to start. I'm Rahim Dauda Debuyega. Yes. Let's reshare. Yes, please let's head over to the chat section, the chat box, and tell us your name, the country you're representing here today, because whether you like it or not, you're representing your country. I'm one of the Nigeria representatives here today, and yes, let's have it. Having okay. Oh, this is incredible. This is incredible. We have Kelechi joining from Jos Plateau, Nigeria. We have Godwin Joseph from Nigeria, Bayero University, Kano. Welcome to Mr. Godwin. And we have Felix from Federal University of Health Science, Ilara Ogun, Nigeria. Welcome to Mr. Felix. We have Jamal from Ethiopia. Welcome to our midst. Welcome to our midst. We have Azizat from Nigeria. Welcome. We have Kamal from Nairobi, Kenya. Welcome, welcome everyone. We have Chemtai also from Kenya. Then we have please, if I don't get the pronunciation of your name, you're not going to get so much angry at me. So we have Namunga. Oh, I hope I did not butcher the name, from Zambia. So yes, we have Emmanuel Olaleya from Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria. You guys are dining and whining with our president. Welcome to our midst this evening. And also we have Mr. Olagoke Abdullah Olajide, yes, from Federal University of Health Science, Ilara Ogun, Nigeria. So yes, this is very, very incredible. And welcome to everyone joining from Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, did I see Tanzania, and every other country represented here today. It's amazing to witness so many future healthcare leaders gathered in this in one virtual room this evening. So yes, for those meeting me for the first time, my name is Rahim Dauda Adegoyega, and I serve as the Training and Capacity Building Officer 1 for Famsa Technical Working Group on Digital Health and Innovation. It's truly an honor to serve as the moderator for this boot camp. Yes. Today marks the beginning of something exciting. I don't know if I'm the only one excited here, but today, yes, something exciting is going to actually start today, because this session is not going to, the boot camp is not just going to happen for a day. We have a lot for you guys to benefit from. So yes, but today we are officially launching our From Health Problem to Data to AI 3-part webinar series, a learning journey designed to help medical students and young professionals think differently about healthcare challenges. So yes, But before I say anything else, I would like us to do a very quick activity together, because this session is not just going to be something that will have somebody talking, then we have people there just behind the screen nodding their head. We all are going to do something here, whether you like it or not. You're going to do something, you're going to get engaged. Yes. So I want everyone to think about one healthcare problem you have personally observed. It could be during your clinical postings for clinical students. It could be something you've witnessed in your community. Maybe it happened in your teaching hospital, or perhaps it's something you experienced yourself as a patient receiving treatment in an hospital in your country. So take just 10 seconds to think about it. Okay. Do you have one problem you've thought about? Fantastic. Now, if you are comfortable, type, just use that same chat box and type 1 or 2 words describing the problem, that problem that you've thought of in the gap of 10 seconds. I've also thought of something, but I'm going to keep that to myself so that you guys will not just look at what I write and start writing the same thing. So yes. Let me see, what have you thought about? Is it long wasting time in our healthcare facilities? Is it a poor medical record? Is it maternal mortality? Is it a mental health issue? Drug shortages, vaccine hesitancy, malaria, delayed diagnosis, lack of specialists? Just one of the problems that you've thought of in that 10 seconds. Just use the chat box. Let us know, what have you thought about. Yes, we want to hear from you, because we all are going to do this together. We all are going to do this together. Am I audible? Hello, am I audible? Okay. Thank you, Sir David. So please, let's use the chat box, and yes, let's use the chat box, and yes, tell us a particular problem you've thought about. Yes, Godwin Joseph said lack of proper renewal of waste materials. Yes. Oh, Olive said mine is poor system in Nigeria. It's sad that many don't have access to proper healthcare. That's sad. So lack of specialists in clinics, poor hospitality. Yes, 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 yes. So this is amazing, overcrowding in public hospitals. Yes. So notice something. Although we are joining from different parts of Africa, it seems many of us are describing similar healthcare challenges. That tells us something very important. Healthcare problems are everywhere, not just in your country. It's everywhere. But here is the question. How do we move from simply noticing problems to actually solving the problems? How do researchers transform an everyday observation into meaningful evidence? How do innovators know problem that is what's building technology around? How can artificial intelligence, AI, help if the problem itself has not been clearly defined by we are noticing these problems around us? So these are exactly the questions this webinar series is designed to answer. And today's sessions is the foundation upon which the rest of the series will be built. Today's objective is not to teach AI. Today's objective is to teach how to think, is to teach us how to think. You will be wondering, don't I know how to think? Yes, I know how to think. We all know how to think. But yes, we have an expert with us today who is going to teach us how to think around the problems that we observe in our community. Because before data, before machine learning, before predictive models, before digital health solutions, there must first be a well-defined health problem. That is to say, you have to be able to define a particular problem, just as we've defined the problem that majority of us type different problems in the chat box. So yes, we have to learn how to define the healthcare problem. We have to know how to prepare problem statement. Yes, let me put it like that. So by the end of today's session, you should be able to look at any healthcare challenge and confidently transform it into a structure. Researchable problem statements using population, outcome, and context framework. So all I'm saying is to just introduce us so that when Mr. David come on board, you are just going to be there. You already have the idea of what we are going to do. Now, if this is your first time, if this is your first Famsa Digital Health webinar, you are especially welcome. If you have attended any of our previous trainings, we did also love to know. So yes, it's wonderful to see both familiar and new faces. To our returning participants, welcome back. To our first timers, you are in for an exciting experience. So I would say that. So now, learning is always richer when we learn together. I'm going to say this again because we are going to have our speaker on board. So learning is always richer when we learn together. Now every successful learning experience is made even more impactful by an excellent facilitator. Yes. So, and today we are privileged to have someone whose work sits at the intersection of medicine, public health, neuroscience, and data science. Our facilitator is a medical doctor with extensive experience in public health and data-driven healthcare solutions. He is currently pursuing a master's degree in neuroscience at the University of Cape Town, where he continues to explore the intersection of health, research, and innovation. His passion lies not only in understanding health problems, but also in equipping others with tools to ask better questions, generate stronger evidence, and build solutions that create real impact. I have no doubt that today's session will challenge the way we think and inspire us to approach healthcare with more structured, evidence-based, and innovative mindset. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, wherever you are joining us from, let's give him a warm virtual welcome. Fill the chat, use your reaction, clap your hand, join your hands together, or any emoji of your choice as we welcome our facilitator for today's session, Mr. Dr. David Andai. So thank you once again for honoring our invitation. The floor is now yours. Welcome to our Miss Dr. David.
Hey, hello. Thank you for those kind words, Rahim. And thank you everybody for making time today on a Sunday evening. I know some of you might rather have this time to relax and just wait for tomorrow to begin the week. But you've taken your time to have this session, which I commend you. And yeah, so welcome. My name is Dr. Andai David. I'm currently at South Africa, Cape Town, but I'm originally from Kenya. I'm currently doing my master's in neuroscience, yes, at UCT, University of Cape Town Neuroscience Institute. So today's session has been introduced. From my side, this comes from an initiative that one, I'm trying to do, two, that my organization Affidata is also trying to do, and three, in terms of the Pan-Africanism of Mandela Minds Institute, which I'm part of, scholarship award, trying to offer in a way or so. So I think those are I can say fundamental things that are maybe driving me to even have this call during this time. So you can be assured none of this I'm being paid, that I'm not being paid. I'm not being told to advertise or do anything. This is more so an initiative that I feel is high time that we as young people, especially in medicine and in Africa, to address actively if we are to see any change in the future. I think that is where it comes from. Yeah. So I will lay out some basics introduction here and there, and take this webinar as a general chat, as I would like to say. So that it doesn't look like you're speaking to a ghost. I will turn on my camera. Yes. So I'll turn on my camera. Currently I'm in my room, it's freezing. So that's why I'm not in a rather conducive place for recording and all that. But yeah. So yes. So I run a organization called Afya Data, and through Afya Data is where we'll be now running this let me say this webinar. No, this bootcamp for the next 3 days. So I will just leave a link of what Afya Data is in general. Afya Data is a startup which is based in Kenya. At the moment, or for the past, let me say 3 years, we've been focusing on teaching health data science skills amongst medics. And right now, from where I'm sitting, I'm like, okay, maybe I need to rethink this approach of teaching health data science. So the general approach that I had, if you can access the link, or let me just try and see if I can share my screen. The general approach for this for Afya Data rather was based on teaching health data science, or the very basics of health data science among medics. And the idea here was, given that you're a medic and you don't have any basic teaching in data science, what are the things that you would probably look for so that you can get started when learning health data science? So this is where we began health data science, and this is, mind you, around 3 years ago. So when you come to health data science, you'll find some modules that we wrote around Excel, data ethics, statistics, and they're free. They're basically free, but they are a way for you to get rid of that scaredness of dealing with health data science. So as I've been doing this over the past 3 years, and right now I'm doing neuroscience, it got me now thinking on another level. And again, especially for medics, how then can I make medics sort of seek out these skills without telling them, hey, learn health data science? Because to be honest, health data science requires some bit of math, some bit of code. And to tell people to learn that on top of learning medicine is a little bit hard. You can also agree with me, okay? So that means that you can try and quote unquote solve some problems within the healthcare space without really going for health data science in this case. Okay, so that makes sense, right? So that is where now I'm starting to think, and I'm like, okay, then how can this happen in the context of Africa? How can this happen in the context of medics, especially now that we are coming up in different countries, we are learning medicine, and we want to help our population in one way or the other. So something that you've realized is that your comments when Rahim asked are more so similar, and you can find that this problem is more so almost everywhere within the African continent. So that means that if a person from Nigeria says overcrowding in public hospitals, that is what a person in Kenya will say. And you realize that these problems are not necessarily things that happened like yesterday. 10 years ago, if you asked a medic this question, they will probably give you the same answers. Okay. I'm also predicting that 10 years from now, if you ask other medics these questions, they'll give you probably the same answer. So the question is either we are not solving this problem, or we don't know the kind of problem we are solving. Okay. Or something else might be, yes, this is a indeed it's a real problem that needs solving, but maybe later during our lives or during our careers, we sort of leave this fundamental problem and pick up other problems, and then we forget about this, and then we say this will be dealt with, for example, with someone else. Maybe that is what is happening. So a good way to look at it is also to think about, okay, what are other problems that have existed within the healthcare space, and have they been eradicated? Okay, so that's a good place to think. So for example, if you ask yourself, let us take a problem like smallpox. Okay, so smallpox was a public health problem, right? However, we don't have smallpox cases anymore because they have been eradicated, right? So you ask yourself, okay, why have they been eradicated? Then you realize that this problem, for example, the solution was maybe to have some certain vaccination, and it helped. Good. And then after that, everyone was vaccinated, the cases went down until there is no smallpox case anymore. Okay. Then number two, find another problem. Let us think of another problem. For example, right now, let us think of COVID. COVID is very recent. How many of you have had a case of COVID this year? Anyone has had a case of COVID somewhere? Okay, so no one has had a case of COVID. That's number one. Okay, number two. Okay, now this you can just think about it. When was the last time you think you had a case of COVID? Okay, think about that. And then number three, think about when we had COVID-19 pandemic. What was the situation like? Can you just try and remember that time? The challenges our healthcare system was facing and all that kind of things. Do you think that it is different from what you're experiencing now? So for example, if at that time we had a problem of ventilators, and right now, has that problem of ventilators gone away, or we've just ignored that problem? So think about that as well. Okay, so I think now I've sort of planted, let me say, sort of an idea or something that is happening in your mind. And from this introduction, you can have a general sense of what problems look like within the healthcare space, and especially within public health, right? So for us as medics, you'll find that when we are coming in into this space, we want to help people, and that makes sense. You want to help people, you want to make people's life better, so and so, and then you probably do this within the clinical space, which is very much okay, or within the public health space, all right? And for us, maybe for us who are growing up within this space, we thought that public, or you might have heard that public health is maybe easy, or maybe you have heard public health is a good alternative to clinical practice, where it is easy, it is relaxed, it pays well and all kind of stuff. And maybe that's the mentality you've been thinking about public health in general. However, things have changed in a global landscape, okay? Even from funding and from everything. And this has changed differently how we view public health, how we approach public health in terms of getting funding to solve these problems. Because the problems you have listed out over there, you can all agree with me that those problems a medical student cannot really solve. Okay, that means that as a medical student, you can't wake up tomorrow and say, here I have the answer to overcrowding in so and so hospital. Okay, you might have an idea. That is okay. I'm not refuting. You might have an idea. However, the idea might not be a solution. But where you are seeing your idea as a solution. Okay, so over this webinar series, my task, or one of the challenges that I'll be tasked with, is to try and help you think about that idea, that problem, and try to see how you can refine it better over your young career, which has barely begun. Even mine has barely begun, by the way. I graduated when? Is it in 2022? So barely begun. But that puts you in that momentum of trying to solve a problem from a public health perspective. And when I say from a public health perspective, it doesn't mean you ignore your clinical work. Your clinical work, from the way I say it, your clinical work is the most important thing. Then everything follows. So not ignoring clinical work, but now we are trying to bring in public health into perspective and to help us think in one way or the other. Okay, so that is my general introduction. Okay, so to get started, I think again I'll share my screen. I will walk you through. I like walking people through my talks in general. That way, you can appreciate the thinking and everything that's happening in there. So if you have any question, please, you can just let me know. I'll be happy to answer as we go along. So just unmute, or you can ask the moderator, and you can let me know if there's a question in the chat, because I won't be looking at the chat. Okay, so we will be focusing on the webinar series will be focusing on public health in general. And the idea here is I want you to walk you through let me say problem solving. Okay, and in some essence, I'm thinking about critical thinking in public health. So it's actually supposed to be a boot camp. So for today's session, I won't take too long, because I have a tendency of going too long. I will try and finish within 1 hour or something like that. So problem solving, critical thinking, maybe it's our essence for this boot camp. Now, the idea here, we're trying to put it in the context of public health. Okay, so public health operates through 3 primary pillars. That is protection, where you're safeguarding populations from environmental hazards, infectious diseases, and workplace dangers. Okay, I think that makes sense to everyone, right? And then promotion, enhancing health through education, lifestyle support, and addressing the social determinants of health. Okay, and then prevention, um, stopping health problems before they arise through strategies like mass vaccination programs and disease screening. Okay, so this is public health in general, and within your coursework, you will be taught these things of, okay, either as for example community medicine, something like that, or if you have units of research or something like that, some of these things will come up. So that is what public health involves in general. Okay, so I want to go deep into. Sorry, Shukri, you can't see the screen. Anyone else can't see the screen? Please let me. Oh, you can see the screen. Okay. All right. So in general, these are things you will be taught in school. I have no problem. You all agree you will be taught this in school one way or the other. Okay. But my challenge for you is I I want you to come out with after you've been taught this in school. I want you to come out. Okay, let me just stop resharing and share it again. I see some other people are saying they're not able to see. So I've stopped sharing. Let me just reshare for Fatima and Shukri. Okay, so I am resharing my screen, entire screen. Okay, now I've reshared my screen. So Fatima, if you don't see Shukri, you can maybe try reconnecting to the call again. Okay, great. So these are things which you will be taught in school. I have no problem with them. They 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 are very fundamental. You will need to understand this. There is no substitute to understand this, and this comes in addition with your clinical training. Okay, so I'll put a clinical training plus public health. Okay, so this one is okay. This one will be taught in school. You are paying school fees for this. That is okay. I won't touch on this. So I want to touch on this because chances are these are things that you won't be necessarily taught in school. You won't. No one will waste their time to try and take you through this. Okay. So the idea behind this is, given your situation, you wherever you are, you've identified a problem, and in this case, you're thinking of it as an idea. How can you think about it in a way that you can make quote unquote impact out of it, given where you are? Okay, so the whole idea here is, number one, how to, maybe in basic terms I can say, how to identify a problem. So that's where we'll start. How to identify a problem. So let me go to the chat again. Some people, okay, you can again mention a problem. For example, you've had, for example, within your space that you've noticed. Some people mentioned, I had something to do with clinics being overcrowded. So try and think of a public health problem. So for the purpose of this boot camp, I will be biased and put the problem within my domain. Okay, so my domain, for example, is let me say mental health and brain health. Okay, so these are the areas that I normally focus on at the moment. However, I did not get here to start with. Okay, when I began, I had a general problem. Okay, I had a general problem. So let me just pull up that general problem, if I can remember where it is. So I have a screenshot here of, I like being practical so that I show you this is not voodoo magic or whatever. And also just to try and keep myself in check in the things that I'm saying. So when I was in fifth year, things are, maybe some of you are beyond the level 5 or even below level 5. Again, I don't know the general age of the audience, so that's why I'm making it as general as possible. In the subsequent episodes, we'll make it more refined. So this was me in fifth year. This is in fifth year. It was just right after when COVID had started, and we were on a lockdown, and I was trying to think about how to go about problem solving. So in this WhatsApp message, I want you to identify something around identifying a problem, okay? Because that is where I will start with. So when I was in fifth year, like most of you who have done here, you have identified a problem and you have posted that problem in the chat. That's okay. So that is the same thing I had 5 years, 6 years ago. I had a problem. And my problem for me was that you can see it over here. It was mostly around no proper data systems within the hospital. Okay. So I was saying, unfortunately, patient data hasn't been reliable in most clinical setups around here due to the use of old systems management. Okay, so there's no proper technology in place to help in delivery of patient data. So in fifth year, this is the problem that I was seeing out there. Okay, this is the problem I was thinking like, there's a problem in this area around this topic. Okay, so apologies for the background noise if you hear some background noise. Okay, so this is the problem that I had seen at that moment in time. So let me come here and say, so my problem was no proper no proper technology in place to help in delivery of patient data. to deliver patient data. Okay, so this is the problem. So now we have identified a problem. We know what the problem is. The question is, what next? Where do you go next after this problem? Any person who has any idea or anything in mind when you have a problem such as this, or one you have listed, what is the general next thing you think you can do as a medic within that space? What is the next thing you think you can do? Anyone have an idea? Just post on the chat. I'll give you like a minute or two. There are no wrong answers, by the way. Just given this problem or any other problem that you have, a systemic problem, what what do you think you can do? So I'll just give you a minute or two to just post in the chat. Okay, so let us continue. I've seen a few replies. So that is where I want to start with. Um so I have Lucifina. Sorry if I butcher your name, apologies. So I have a couple of replies, and out of 35, that is one, two, three, for around 4 5 replies. So something else that I want to also to appreciate, which is also something that I normally see in medical students, is that we have we are mostly hardwired to be afraid of answering, because we think that if either we give out an answer, we will be wrong. If either we give out an answer, we won't, like, it will expose us in one way or the other. But I would really encourage people to have the habit of quote unquote talking, especially in open platforms, because as you advance in your career, you realize that closed mouths do not get fed. That's number one. Number two, you will see people complaining about they don't have jobs in public health, there are no opportunities. And the reason is, whenever they were told to speak or to talk, they never did. And eventually down their career, they'll just end up complaining. So that's also another fact. Then another fact is that in such platforms, whenever you talk and someone else replies, have that tendency of listening to them, because they will come in with some perspective that you would have missed, that will help you understand one or the other. So the reason is, even as I'm talking to you and I'm getting these replies, I'm also getting a perspective that I missed, or that I might have, or that I can use to think better. Okay, so that's one important thing in such forums or in such workshops. They're not meant to teach you like a lecture, having a pen, having a chalk and a whiteboard and just taking you through concepts. No, that won't be helpful. Uh, that you can do in your coursework. However, in such forums, if you're able to get into that habit of communicating, discussing with people openly, trust me, it will get you far. Okay, so Lucifina said collecting data about it. I agree. So I'll just write it here, collecting data. Namunga gave a very good explanation. I want to research or check journals of what is being done globally or outside my country. I would also inquire from senior doctors why patient data management isn't considerable. Focus is to find the why. Great. Mhm. Make a research about it and explore possible options. Uh, Great from Timothy. Mercy said, I would recommend implementation. Um, Implementing an electronic health system information that enables secure collection, storage, and sharing of patient data among healthcare providers. This should be supported by adequate staff training, reliable infrastructure, and data security measures to improve the efficiency and quality of patient care. Ibrahim said, I will be dropping. Okay, so okay, so that's not part of this. But anyway, very good. I love these answers. I love these answers because they are diverse and they also take me to my next second point, which is context. Now, if you'll notice amongst the answers, there's one that, let me say, I like, and it's one that takes me to this point number two, is whenever you have a problem, try to put that problem into context. Okay, so that's very important. Whenever you have a problem, try to put it into context. Now, the way you put it into context is doing, let me say, desktop research. Is doing desktop research, is contacting seniors. Let me say contacting seniors, okay? Because at this point you realize other people have come before you. They have probably seen the problem because chances are they're not blind and they have tried to address it, okay? So before jumping into implementation, which is normally a very good idea, you want to implement, try and put this into context, okay? So this is very important. Now, I want to show you how you can put this into context. So when you do the research and all that, that is sort of putting it into the external context of what people have done, what people have been doing, and what's so. The most important thing that I'd want you to do, or now to take out now from this webinar, is how to put it in an internal context. Okay. So, in the internal context point of view, is you call yourself into a meeting. Okay. There's normally a Kenyan saying that we say that unajiita mkutano. However, in this case, you bring yourself into a meeting and then you start to Kamau is laughing, and then you start to discuss. So the importance of this thing is because as a fifth year or whatever level you are, you want to deal with this problem, okay? However, if you don't understand how to deal with this problem given the internal context, what you'll end up having, you will end up having frustration. You'll end up I think frustration is the best way to put it. You'll end up being frustrated because you'll be wondering, why is no one addressing this problem given that the research is saying do ABC and D, seniors are saying do ABC and D, and for you, you're seeing there is a problem about patients being admitted in the hospitals. There's a problem about the management system, okay? So in the internal context, this is where I want you to really, really, really dig deep, because this is where we'll be focusing on. The internal context most of the time, for me, from the way I see it, comes from a skill gap perspective, okay? So I have gone in length about discussing this on my YouTube channel, Affiliates YouTube channel, where how you can really bring this into perspective, okay? So the reason I am talking about this skill gap challenge is because this forms the biggest part of the internal context. It allows you to make sense of where you are at as an individual and how you can address this problem, okay? That is the most important thing. Now, the outcome you're looking for after doing this is, it will be very hard for you to change this. That I will tell you for a fact. However, the most optimal outcome you're looking for a way to get into rooms that this conversation is happening. So that is the that is the basic thing that you need to focus at the end of the day. Okay. So now let us come back at the top. If you are if your area is mental health, for example, your problem here would be something along the lines of mental health. Okay. Let us say increased cases of suicide in the community. Okay. Okay, research context. You do this, you ask seniors, you realize you can't take down the number of suicide cases. Okay. Then you ask yourself, okay, internally, what is it that I'm lacking that I can able to address this problem? Okay. Then you get into the rooms where conversations about reducing the suicide incidents are happening so that you can be able to contribute. That makes sense? Okay, once you have got into the room because you're a medical student or a medic, how do you stay there? You stay there by contributing given your skills. And there's no way you will be able to contribute without having realized this. So most of the times I hear medicals or I see medical students say, oh, I am interested in research, I am interested in this. Then you give them the opportunity. They just look at you and they wait for the next instruction. However, there's no next instruction. The next instruction should have come through the student understanding their internal context, where they are in terms of the skill gap analysis. So I have gone into depth about discussing this. So why am I yapping about this? And why am I talking about this in the sense of public health? Okay, I will use myself as an example because I don't want to give things so abstract that they don't make sense. At the end of the day, the goal is for you, or the way I see it, the goal is for you to have a quote unquote portfolio that you can help uh, that can help you get into such contexts or such rooms where conversations about what you are interested in the field of public health, in the field of problem solving, is happening, so that you can contribute, so that you can so much help that problem that you have identified within your space. That is the aim of this webinar series or this bootcamp series. Now, for that, you need some skills. You need some skills here and there. You need some tools. Okay. So for this case, the tools we'll be using or we try to use to help us a little bit are AI skills or AI tools, one way or the other. So why am I saying AI? So now I would like to take you through part of the last bit of this talk. There's this application that I've been reading. It's called Africa's Development Dynamic: Skills, Jobs, and Productivity. Okay. So in this, I hope you can see my screen. So if you're not seeing Africa's development dynamics, let me know. So over here, in essence, what's happening is that there are normally reports that come out every depending on the, I think it's mostly annually, around some certain topics. So for example, for 2024 one was around skill, jobs, and productivity. So this shows where Africans we are at. So this is like the you, me, your neighbor, so and so, the skills that they have compared to, for example, the rest of the world. So there are a couple of things that they focus on. For example, digital skills in East Africa, skills for renewable energy, but I'll just focus on the general bit. Skills development for Africa's productive transformation. That's what I'll focus on. So when you look at this, they talk about some interesting things. Okay, so let me just screen on this and see. So They say, for example, Africa's better educated and growing population is changing the global workforce. The continent's working age population is 15 to 64 years old, with almost double in the next 26 years. From that to that, the growth will account for 85% of increase in the global working age. The number of young Africans having completed an upper secondary or tertiary education will be more than double from 2020 to 2040, from 103 million to 240 million. So in this case, you are amongst the people who have these numbers. Okay. Then let us see. Let us see something interesting. Yes, here. African labor market adapted to new trends, which is redefining skill demands and supply. As the continent's digitization advances and number of jobs requiring digital skills is growing, by 2030, 70% of these jobs will demand basic digital skills and 23% intermediate digital skills, especially in services. Okay, so let us come lastly here. Climate adaptation measures, including improved climate literacy and climate smart agriculture, will increase productivity and provide additional employment opportunities. So the reason I'm taking you through this document is that this document is part of a skills, jobs, and productivity policy evaluation. In essence, what this document is trying to do is trying to show where Africans are at when it comes to skills. And in this case, digital skills, in this case, AI skills, where now will form the part of our second webinar. So the reason I'm introducing this here is because I want you to think of AI skills as one of the ways that you can use to solve the problem that you have within that public health space, within that clinical space that you think I so and so as a medical student or as a medic can potentially solve this thing. Okay, so that is the whole idea. So let us come here and see demand for and supply of digital skills across Africa. Okay, so as you can see, normally if you're a person who has done business, demand drives supply. At the moment, it might be hard for you to see the benefit of, for example, being employed because your skills doesn't match the job market. However, when you look at the data, you can see that there is sort of something that is shifting based on the skills that are needed. So, for example, even in Africa, basic digital skills such as smartphone, whatever, they are still in very large demand. Okay, and there's a growing supply. Okay, that is happening. As we go along, you see there's a potential of even advanced digital skills such as AI, data science, that Africans can use and help, for example, within the domain that they are in. So in this case, you are in the domain of healthcare. My whole task here is for you maybe to get a little bit of what is happening within this space, because in the next 5-6 years, you will probably be where I am right now, and you'd want to use these skills to solve the problem that you have identified within your certain domain. Okay, so again, this is just to give you a bit of context of why I am doing this or why we are doing this. Okay, I hope that is okay. All right, so now lastly, as I complete the first session, so I'll come back to this document. So just from the top, we have set the pace, or we have set the groundwork for what we will be doing across the bootcamp. I haven't gone deep into what public health is, because these are things that should be taught in whatever domain you are in right now. That is okay. But I want you to learn the art of picking up problems, critical thinking, and doing all that. So that will be the essence of this bootcamp. So number one, we've identified a problem or the idea. For example, this can be within the place you are in. Okay, so what I've said is that whenever you're picking a problem, you will come up with an idea. However, it will be very hard for your idea to turn into a solution immediately that people will pick up. All right, so when you have an idea, the second most important thing is to do research, basic desktop research. Don't go collecting data. outside, because it will be expensive, to be honest. It will be expensive for you to go out to collect data at the onset of things, because it's expensive. However, do desktop research and contact seniors. That is okay. That is, I believe that is cheap for everyone. I don't think that is costly, right? So the reason we are doing this is because you don't want to get frustrated. And then the next thing is the internal context. You need to develop this internal context. You need to investigate yourself and look at the skill gap. Okay. So just to touch a little bit about the skill gap. I know it's very abstract. So just to give it a little bit of flesh. Skill gap, as you have seen previously, I've shown you the basic skills, AI, whatsoever. However, I don't want to just limit everything to code or to data science. No, there are very many skills. Even writing is a skill. Even public speaking is a skill. Okay. So most medics come to me and they want to tell me, oh, I want to learn data science. I want to learn, where do I start? But sometimes I'm like, okay, you're actually better off learning how to write, because writing in itself is a skill. And I will show you why writing is a skill right shortly. Writing itself, it's a skill. So that means that the way you write, if you're able to improve it over time, it is likely to help you. How? Because it will help you get into rooms where this conversation is happening. And then when they ask you to contribute, you say, hey, I have a writing skill. I can contribute in terms of writing. So for example, when I get into rooms, I normally contribute in terms of data science. That is for my case. And right now, I am learning a skill in neuroscience. Okay. So that means when I get into rooms, I would also be contributing in terms of skills in neuroscience. I didn't have these skills in neuroscience 1 year ago, but right now I have them. So again, I am showing you how skills happen. So in this case, don't think as skill as something that is up there in the mountains, that exists amongst gods and whatever mythical creatures. It is something that is very just within you. But because one way or the other, you are buried with the anatomy, you are buried with what else? Pathology. You won't really see the essence of developing these skills. However, in terms of your career, these are what we call soft skills that can actually come in when you are looking for that edge, when you're looking for that, or when you're just taking a break, for example, from your medical school work. These are things that are very important for you to invest in, because they will give you that edge for you to address this problem. Okay, so public speaking, writing, coding, data science, neuroscience, there are a ton of skills. These are just a few. You have seen the list that I've shown you from that document. All right. The next is the outcome that you're looking for is getting into rooms where this conversation is happening. Now, this is called networking. So for this, I want to talk about it. This one you'll have to plan another day, another webinar. We talk about just networking and contributing given your skills. All right. Okay. So at the end of the day, the idea is, or at the end of this webinar series, it's at least for you to quote unquote be in that direction of, let me say, be in that direction, because be in the direction of creating a basic portfolio, right? And let me say AI skills. So the idea here is that what your portfolio will have, your portfolio will have, let me say, a bunch of problems. Let us put it at the very basic, three. Okay, so three problems. Then, given the skill, given the problems that you have, you'll do some bit of research and try and do small desktop research and even contact seniors, and then document with your own words. All right. Then we will do an assessment, an internal assessment to see to see where the skill gap for you is. Wewe mwenyewe. Okay, so this is in Swahili. Yourself, where that gap is, because I can assure you, these things you won't, no one will teach you this in medicine. That is for a fact. These are the things that they expect you to know. Okay, so you do an internal assessment and see where the skill gap is at. All right, and then this one will come out later in life. You can now, we'll talk about this a little bit, and for this outcome, it's more on in terms of presentation. I said this is another topic on its own. Let me just put it networking. So I won't dive deep into this for now, but I'll just focus on these three, on this first bit. So that means in the next session, it will be now more so kind of hands-on, where we pick up three problems, we do a little bit of research and document, have an internal assessment of where our skill gap internally is, and then we want to package this into some sort of portfolio for you, and as a Famsa student, as a medical student, to build upon your quote-unquote career. Okay, what this will involve, or some of the basic things will involve within this space, is looking at data, looking at publications, for example. Okay, etc. So that means in the next session, what I would like each one of you to do is, for example, during this whole week, now you have the opportunity to sit down and think of a problem. If you hadn't identified a problem yet, think of a problem, try and describe that problem, what it looks like within whatever domain you're in. We'll be focusing on three problems, and then let it be systemic, even personal, don't care, but around public health. That will be a good point to start with. Okay, and then we you can do some basic research or documentation. However, if you haven't have done it, then we'll do it during the session, and then we'll come up with a short internal assessment on where the skill gap is. So this for me will be an opportunity for anyone who comes forth and say, hey, I have a problem with writing here and here. How does it work? I can maybe help you if it's something that maybe you like. Normally I say, not everyone, we are around 20 something or 30 something in this call. Not everyone here wants to know how to write. Not everyone here knows how to code. You want to do something. So unless you ask me, I'm not God in heaven to maybe be able to discern what you want to do. So again, you have to talk so that I can help. And then we do an internal assessment, and then have some basic portfolio in whatever nature it will be in the final session. Okay. So to wrap it up, or to give that concrete idea on how a portfolio looks like after years of going over and over and over, uh, I will share a link to my portfolio in the chat. So this is like my basic portfolio currently that I use. Let me just close this, where I highlight my research areas, my interest, my experience, whatever the things I've been doing. So for example, about myself, experience, some projects I've been doing. This is the current project that I'm working on, the publications that have really contributed in terms of assisting. So this is again in the speed of networking, the community that I'm part of, and all that. So I'll just leave this in the description. So for you to get here, you have to go through all that process in a nutshell. However, you have to start, you have to start somewhere. I think that's what I'm saying. All right, I have talked too much and you people are not talking. So at this point, I will open the floor for some questions. Yes, I see a hand up. That is Hajir.
Okay, if you have a question, you can just raise your hand using the button in this call, and you will be called upon. Then your question will be addressed by our speaker before the end of the meeting today, the session today, rather.
Yes, I'm seeing Namonga's hands is up.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for the lesson that we've had just recently. The presentation was well tailored and well explained.
Namonga, you're breaking. I don't know if it is me alone. It is I alone who is
I
experiencing
think
that.
it's a network. Our network is not
Mhm.
working.
Yes, yes, you
So,
can type. You can type.
oh my God, oh my goodness.
So as she's typing, the general idea of this, I know it can be overwhelming, especially when you're trying to teach an orthodox way of doing things. However, think of this as because public health, after you finished undergrad, there are very few places that you can go and exercise public health as it is. Given that we mentioned the whole thing with funding right now, the whole thing with job opportunities and what have you. Okay. However, at the root of it all, it's something that you think you can address. It's something that you think is a problem that you see out there when you pick up your lab coat and go to the clinic. And one way or other, you think this is something that you can address. So the question for me is, how can you address that given the current skills that are out there, given AI that is out there? Just beyond using ChatGPT of Googling or searching medical questions, how then can you use it better to address the people within your community that maybe need a certain assistance? Okay, so that's the way just to think about it. Mhm. Yes, Namonga is seeing, she has an idea, more on innovation to come up with an application that helps patients access accurate medicines in pharmacies. Seasonal drugs are found in government hospitals. Yeah, it's something you can use using the guideline as related today. What you're talking about is what we call access to medicine. I think during that next session is something that I will be very happy to share. There is something called an Access to Medicine Index 2020-25. I think that was the last time I saw it. So, for example, let me just, where is it? Let me look for that publication and share it in the chat. Access to Medicine. So, Access to Medicine is a 2020. No, it's one of the pillars of WHO. It's amongst the 6 pillars of WHO. So again, that is also important. One interesting thing when it comes to this in this innovation. So I've sent the link. One of the interesting things when it comes to this innovation framework, think of it as you can also think of it around the 6 blocks of WHO or 6 pillars. Uh, So they are normally around, for example, health information systems, access to medicines and essential drugs. There is health workforce, health service delivery, financing, and then I'm forgetting the sixth one. But anyway, there are those 6 pillars, WHO, that can act as a guide when you're trying to solve problems or you're trying to come up with a solution. So, for example, if you have no idea where your problem lies, just check up the 6 pillars. It has to fall amongst the 6 pillars. Then you can do research within those 6 pillars. That's a good way to think about it again.
Okay, do we still have more question? If you have question, please do ask question, because you won't tell me, because I have my notebook filled with many points, and yes, I have many things written down here, and yes, I expect each and every one of us here to have a question at the back of our mind if truly we had enjoyed this session. Yes, and I will enjoin us to ask the question. Yes, because if you, no matter how much you want to do it, you have to have a curious mind. You need a mind that asks questions to be able to do things in the space of public health, because you have to identify problem and ask people who had already done the same thing, who had already done something similar, how they go about it. So please, let's come up with question, and yes, before we wrap it up. Okay, in the absence of question, thank you so much, Dr. David, for such an insightful and thought-provoking session. Please, let's give him another round of virtual applause, please. Let's give him another round of virtual applause. Yeah, actually demystify even almost all the questions I had at the back of my mind before the beginning of this session. He has already answered all the questions. And I believe everyone here would agree that this was far, far more than just another webinar. Today challenged us to rethink how we approach healthcare problems and problems around us in general. One of the biggest lessons I'm taking away from this impactful innovation, just like one of the lessons I'm taking away is that impactful innovation doesn't begin with AI, coding, or technology. It begins with asking the right questions, like identifying the right problem in your community, in a space where you belong, in your own domain. That's where the impactful innovation begins. Dr. David reminded us that before we can build solution, we must first understand the problem, appreciate the context, identify the people affected, and define the outcomes we hope to achieve. In other words, we move from assumption to evidence, from opinion to structured thinking, and from simply seeing problems to understanding them deeply within ourselves. I particularly appreciated the personal story you shared, how a simple observation about poor patient data management grew into curiosity, then research, networking, and eventually a career in public health data science. And finally, you are now in neuroscience. That journey is a powerful reminder that every impactful project begins with one person choosing to ask, why is this happening? And how can I contribute? Just as you said. Another powerful lesson from today's session is that skills create value. Dr. David reminded us that opportunities are meaningful only when we have something valuable to contribute. So wherever you find yourself, whether in a research meeting, in a conference, a community project, or even a casual conversation, whatever room you find yourself, let your skills speak for you. Continue learning, continue building capacity, and continue investing in yourself, because the skills you develop today will determine the impact you will make tomorrow and the impact you are going to be making from this moment onward. Yes, we also learned that, because I I could see that Dr. David will want to speak about networking. We will just dive back out because networking itself is a very powerful something that if you know how to network very well, you can easily get even these skills and information that we are talking about. Networking is far more than exchanging contacts, just meeting one another. It's about building genuine relationship, learning from others, asking thoughtful questions, seeking mentorship, and placing yourself in rooms where meaningful conversations are taking place. I personally sometimes one conversation, one message, or one connection has opened doors to opportunities for me personally. And I believe that that's how it has been for everybody who has achieved one or two things or who has done one or two things. Don't let what you are doing here, like, don't let what is in your notes this evening remain in your notebook. When you leave this meeting, take a walk through your hospital, your university campus, your community, or even your compound. Let me limit it, like even your compound. Observe carefully, ask questions, identify one health problem that genuinely matters to you, what you have passion to do, what you really want to do. Then try applying the framework you have learned today. What exactly is the problem? Who is affected? In what context does it occur? What outcome would meaningful change look like in that particular aspect? Then ask yourself two more questions to contribute to what Dr. David has said. What skill do I need to develop to help solve this problem? Yes, you've walked around, you've identified the problem, you've looked at it, who are the people affected, and what's the context, like the area where that problem belongs to. Then ask yourself, which skill do I have to solve this problem? If it's about something you need to educate people on, you need to talk to people, okay, don't do this, do that. That means you need public speaking skill. Just as Dr. David said, skill is not limited to coding or neurosciences, or yes, just as he has said, skill as little as content writing has placed people in a very high position in life. So think about it. Which skill do I need to solve this particular problem? And the second question will be, who should I connect with to learn? Who am I collaborating with? Who am I going to approach to contribute to this particular impact that I'm going to make? That simple exercise that I just spoke about may become the foundation of your first research project, your innovation, your publication, or even the solution that transforms healthcare in Nigeria, in our various countries, and also and even in the continent of Africa as it is. So, as this is just the first session in from health problems to data to AI webinar series, I encourage everyone to stay engaged. The knowledge from today is the foundation upon which the next sessions will be built. The information you've had today is what you'll be building on till the end of this bootcamp. The stronger your understanding of problem definition, the easier it will be to appreciate data, to appreciate artificial intelligence. When Dr. David was closing, driving toward the end of his presentation, he was like, this AI that you use to answer basic sciences question, anatomy question, physiology question in our various universities, in our classrooms, to do assignments, you can as well use this AI, you can as well use these tools to solve problems. You can as well use it to source information, to access information. Yes. So on behalf of the Famsa Technical Working Group on Digital Health and Innovation, I sincerely appreciate our amazing facilitator, Dr. David Andai, for sharing not only his expertise, but also his journey and practical insights with us tonight. Thank you to every participant for your thoughtful contribution in the chat, those who ask questions, and your enthusiasm throughout this session. Your engagement is what makes this community vibrant and impactful as it has been. Yes, please don't forget to complete the attendance, and also your feedback. Yes, we also need your feedback. Your feedback will help us to improve and tailor future session for your needs. Until we meet again in the next session, keep observing, keep learning, keep building value, skills, keep nurturing meaningful relationships. And remember, every groundbreaking innovation that you've seen today starts with someone who was curious enough to ask the right question, disciplined enough to develop the right skill, and courageous enough to build the right connections. Thank you all. Stay safe, stay inspired, and have a wonderful night. Goodbye, everyone.